So, hello everyone. We're super happy to have you. Thank you so much for coming. Today is really a special day. Well, plus a few, 6 months and a few days essentially since we've set up this fantastic community. My name is Bomila. I'm one of the co-founders of the Greentech Alliance, and I'm joined here by my other co-founders, Emma, JJ, Hannah, and Simon, and also Andrew, who is joining us online as well. What we're going to talk about tonight is quite clear. We have some really exciting things that we would like to share with you. But first, to kick it off, I would like to go through the agenda and walk you also through perspective on what's going to happen tonight. So first of all, as the co-founders, we're going to talk a bit more about the Greentech Alliance, what we've been able to achieve, what is the vision. And also we would love to be able to tell you a bit more about actually what's happening on the inside the Alliance, which leads to our second part, that is the interactive part with our members. We're going to have a presentation from Nick from Planet A, also Alex from Übermorgen VC, also Reinhard from Glacier, and a fantastic panel with some early stage startups that within our group, our team, so to say, of the Greentech Alliance. And then after that, we're going to have at 8 o'clock a Q&A session so that all of your questions about what is the vision, how we're moving forward, what are the main challenges we've seen over the last few months, or our members have seen would be covered as well. So now a bit more about the Greentech Alliance. Can I ask everyone that is listening to add to the chat an answer if they are a member of the Greentech Alliance or if they just wanted to learn more about the community? So if you're a member, please say yes. If you're not, then please say no. Fantastic. Okay. Good. There's a fantastic mix. Oh, wow. Some members from yesterday. We have not yet. Great. Exciting. Well, really excited to be able to share more with you. What is the Greentech Alliance? The Greentech Alliance is a community of green tech companies and advisors from venture capital, media, science, and business. I'm super happy to see that also some of our advisors have joined the discussion here. And the purpose of this community has been since day one to kind of address some key issues that we see that fundamentally maybe not addressed when it comes to this field and this topic. Who's behind the Alliance? Well, we are 6 co-founders, all building sustainable companies focused on different topics. So we have me, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Planet. Simon, who is head of partnerships of Green City Solutions and part owner of the company. Janja Verhoeven, who is the chief commercial officer of Planet. Hannah, that is the founder of Sylphia, a sustainable fashion company that is also launching soon a new product. And Andrew, who is making our Christmas is Green. Christmas is coming up, so check out what he does. And of course, Emma. Emma is part of Ecoligo that focuses on sustainable energy transition. So these are the people behind the Alliance. The Alliance has grown out of, I would say, beyond our expectations really shortly, and you're going to learn a bit more about our achievements within the last 6 months. But before we kick off the more official part, I also would like to say, oh, the GIF is a bit sleeping. I would also like to say that we have the Founders Plus One. One of the reasons why Andrew is also not joining us here as a speaker is because since recently he has a baby. So we wanted to use the opportunity to say congratulations, and we're incredibly happy to have baby founder of the Greentech Alliance that is also battling for a sustainable world, actually even since its first day. Sorry that the beautiful gift that I chose wasn't visible, but I guess you can understand that there's some balloons that were going to be popping up. So the Alliance focuses on making the connection between the different stakeholders within the realm in which we exist. So what does this mean? Well, it's a community. It's a community for the companies, for the green tech companies, but it also incorporates some key actors that can define a sustainable transition for a larger amount, not only of companies, but for our whole society. Some of our official partners are Yale Open Lab, which is the climate change lab of Yale, Climate Kick, and in particular, of course, their work on supporting startups. Urban Impact, a fantastic organization focused on urban tech and empowering urban tech companies. Change Now, that is one of the biggest and most influential events in France and now all across Europe, focused on sustainability and focused on biodiversity. And of course, St. Gallen Symposium, a symposium dedicated to building a transition and building a bridge between the leaders of today and the leaders of tomorrow. So what is the members' criteria? Many of you mentioned in the chat, and I encourage the new people to join also the discussion and say if they are part of the community or if they just, and how did they learn about the community? That would be great to know about this as well. But what is the members' criteria? How do we decide that someone should be joining our community? First of all, we look at the environmental impact that the company has. Normally the process is that you apply on the website, you get in an interview, and then after that, you might be approved, you might not be approved. What essentially happens is, as part of the interview, is that we check for the environmental impact of the company, if the company is performing a new way that is essentially an improved version of the existing processes that we have. If the product is also improving the health of our planet, the balance between planet, people, and profit. If the company is aware also of greenwashing, we do not want to work with any companies that are not aware of greenwashing and do not necessarily agree with the issue related to that. And also, we want the company to be an active member of the community, as well as having a solution that is scalable. So the benefits for a member are quite tangible. We don't think that creating yet another community that is simply a label of approval or like just joining some sort of a standard is enough. We always have been driven by KPIs, and Emma is going to speak a bit later about this. The benefits for the members are multiple. First of all, the companies get access to one-on-one sessions with more than 350 even advisors as of today. You get access to content, events, webinars that are specific to Greentech Alliance. You get matchmaking with impact investors, and it also gets particularly access to products that would normally maybe cost a lot or would be difficult to get, and conferences, competitions, and events. So what is the Greentech Alliance? It's really important for us to mention this because we are, as I mentioned, really focused on delivering results for our members. The community is global. We have more than 100 nationalities, and we have innovators from all around the world that we've been able to super happily connect just over the last 6 months. We're accessible. There's no exclusivity. Anyone can join as long as they are building something that is scalable for the planet. We're focused on green tech. Technology is at the core of our knowledge, and this is what we want to connect also to these advisors and to these organizations that I mentioned. It is KPI driven. You're going to learn a bit more about the KPIs in a second, and it's growth focused. We want to see the companies that are part of our community to be essentially moving from one stage of their development up until another one. With this, I would like to turn to my colleague Simon, who's going to take you a bit further into what we actually have achieved. Okay, we have a good vision, but like, what have we actually been able to do in the last few months? Simon?
Hey, thank you, Lou. I'm going to share some light on what we achieved so far, what the highlights are within the last 6 months. I think you need to do the slides. Sorry about that. Perfect. Okay. As you can see, we've been growing rapidly. We now have 500 and plus green tech companies from all over the world. Obviously not every country yet, but we are working on it. And what's amazing about it, they are from most sectors so far, not only from, for instance, solar and wind, but from all over the place. So that's pretty unique. Also, we managed to have 300 plus advisors who are connected with all the startups, and who haven't been connected so far, we will definitely work on that. Lou already mentioned about the 10 organizations. Okay, yeah, thanks. Let's look at the global reach. Next to our 100 plus nationalities, we have companies from almost 50 countries so far. Most come from Europe, the Americas, from India and Australia. Africa is growing stronger, but we will make sure that in the end we have members from all over the globe. This is pretty amazing. Okay, next. So let's share some highlights from our members. So first of all, we managed to have 20 plus webinars and workshops from different areas. For example, one great PR workshop, which was more extensive. Then we had B2B sales, for example, or how to structure cap tables. Everything is really important for growing founders. We facilitated 150 plus matches so far between members and advisors, but also between members and investors. That wasn't able without being really active in the community. So we counted 10,000 Slack messages so far, and infinite discussions within the community. We also, Lou, next. So we also want to share some highlights from us, from the founders. We counted 24 weeklies and infinite meetings so far, most of them online. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we weren't able to meet that often. As a fun fact, it took us a couple of weeks after starting the Alliance before we all met the first time. That was something new. We had an amazing experience of 200 plus hours of meeting new members. I personally can tell that it didn't feel like work, but it was just great to see how many great companies out there, and I'm looking for many more. And finally, and this is what it's also about tonight, we managed to have our one offsite in the woods outside of Berlin. That was a lot of fun, but more to come. Okay.
Excellent. Great. Thank you very much, Lou, and thank you very much, Simon. My name is Emma, and after that great overview of what we've done so far, then I'm going to tell you basically what we decided on the offsite, or what we've really been building up to over the last months anyway, and what our plans are for the future. So I'll start with the big picture, our vision and our mission, and then talk a bit more about how we actually want to bring that to life. So our vision is to create the strongest network of green tech companies that effectively fight the climate crisis. Our experience tells us that network is a key driver of success, and the stronger the network, the more beneficial it is to our members. And of course, when those members are successful, that's a positive result for all of us, because they can increase their impact and combat climate change. And our mission is to transform awareness into action by providing green tech companies with access to knowledge, people, and funding. Over the past couple of years, the awareness of climate issues has skyrocketed, which is really amazing, but now it's time to act, and that's exactly what all the Greentech Alliance members are doing. I think, as Lou has outlined, the companies have potential to make significant and measurable impact, but like all young companies, they experience many challenges, and with the Greentech Alliance, that's what we think we can help them to solve. Also, as was mentioned, like all of the startups, we are data-driven, and here are some of the KPIs that we use to make sure that we are moving on the right track. So these include developed and facilitating partnerships amongst the members, transitioning members to the next growth stage, and also funding raised by members, which brings me on to the next slide. So funding is still the biggest challenge for green tech businesses, but there is an increasing amount of finance which is actually pledged to initiatives that are fighting the climate crisis. So a lot of the issues are also coming around understanding rather than just availability. So in addition to the matchmaking and intros that we've been doing a lot of over the past 6 months and will continue to do, we'll also be doing pitching sessions, again, increasing this over the next months. And we're also working with partners to try to increase the understanding of the opportunities that green tech businesses offer. So people. We've also realized that there's a huge need for passionate and smart people to grow green tech businesses. Our jobs channel on the Slack community is one of the busiest channels that we've got. On the other side, we're constantly getting member requests from qualified people who want to work in green tech and want to work for a purpose-driven company, but are not yet founders or don't want to be founders and rather work within companies. So what we're doing right now is trying to develop a more structured ecosystem where the startups and the green tech enthusiasts can easily find each other. Knowledge. We've had really great feedback from our webinars this year, and we'll be ramping this up a lot with a full calendar of talks and workshops for 2021. We've got 3 more organized for this year, one of which is on the power of storytelling with David Rowan, who is the founding editor-in-chief of Wired. We're also extending this knowledge with courses, which is part of our efforts to make it easier to hire good people. So these courses are aimed at those wishing to work in green tech and offer training courses in various topics to give people a foundational knowledge and let them understand whether that's the right career path for them. We'll also be featuring relevant startups in these courses, which will really help with employer branding. And now the community. That's really where we're making the most changes. So first of all, with new tech, we have grown the community through Slack, and it is a really great way of getting everyone together, but we also know that we can do something a bit better here. So we are moving away from Slack to a dedicated platform, which will enable the members to connect better and see more of what's relevant. We are also exploring ways to include more members in the Greentech Alliance. So in addition to expanding our geographical reach, including experts like scientists and journalists can make us stronger and enable more knowledge sharing within the community. And as I mentioned, we're already working to create a place for those who are wishing to get a more impactful job. And finally, events. So now we're back in lockdown. We are, of course, missing the casual exchanges that can inspire your next big idea or just make you a little bit happier. So in November, we're going to be hosting our first Icebreaker event. This is a really fantastic platform that basically makes it online networking a lot more fun. And so we're really excited about that, and we hope that you sign up for that as well. And in 2021, we're also going to organize more casual online meetups and member-led events, particularly around the topic, the clusters of different topics and different locations, basically to help members growing their network more organically. And if there's something that you as a member want to do, if there's something you want to organize and want to see, then please do bring it to us. We're really happy to hear your ideas and to help to get them moving along. Which brings me to the final slide of how you can get more involved in the future of the Greentech Alliance. So of course, you can join the community. We very much want that. As a startup, you can apply straight. And as I mentioned there, we are trying to make it more possible for other people who are passionate about solving the climate challenges that we have, making it more easy for them to join. So if you are not a startup and you still want to get involved, then send us a message. Also tell us your news. So for the startups, we can share your news, your events, whatever you've got going on across our social channels. We also have a great collaboration with Piavo PR. So if you have really big news, we can also try and get it a bit further out there. Share your knowledge as well. We've had a couple of webinars also have been organized by our members, and we want to increase this to basically give you a chance to share your knowledge more formally with the other members of the Alliance. And so workshops, webinars, any kind of events, or also sharing things that you've written is really helpful for us. Find a job or a teammate. So as I mentioned, you can find a job on our dedicated jobs page on the website. And also, if you're a member, then we have a place in the jobs channel where we can help you then to post the jobs. And finally, tell your network. The Greentech Alliance would not have grown to the place we are now without essentially all of the members and people who are involved spreading it. And we want to do that further. And we really thank you as well for getting us this far. And now I'm going to pass on to JJ for the next part of the evening.
Thank you, Emma. Yes, we're moving on, and we're going to let other people talk. So we're moving on, and we're going to start with three presentations. From two VCs, namely Planet A and Uber Morgan, and we're closing off the presentations with Reinhard Fuchs from Glacier. After that, we're going to move on to a panel, but let's get started with Nick. Nick, I would love to invite you to the stage. Are you there?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. Welcome.
Okay.
Floor is yours.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for giving me the chance to speak tonight. And before I jump into the presentation, I really wanted to say it's super impressive to see what you've been building over the last 6 months. And also, if I read through the chat and also the questions, there seems to be a super high level of excitement and also interaction. So seems like you're still hearing the community, and that's, I think, always good news. So then, without further ado, let's jump into Planet A to a fair degree. So basically, Planet A. The name doesn't come too long of a way. It's simply because there is no Planet B, and this is also kind of the mantra of what we are doing. So we're usually starting with a couple of examples, not to scare anyone away, but to really make sure and underline what has been our primary motivation to act. So Australia, you all know it has been burning, and it's probably going to burn again. What is a bit less known is that up to 21% of its entire forested area got burnt last year. Next picture is coming from India. This is no landfill. This is a public street, and we know that we have a plastic problem. We have billions of tons of plastic which are currently circulating in the nature. And the last example is coming from South Africa, where in 2018 we almost hit the day zero when there was no more fresh water available. And this is really to underline that it is basically hitting everywhere, and the impacts are getting closer. And we at Planet A, we try to take a step back and to really understand what's the reasoning behind this, why is this happening? And we came to conclude that we are, and you all know that we are consuming more than we have. And if you look to the right side, the graph is basically the best picture to show what it means to live unsustainable. It shows how many planets we're currently consuming. And this is 1.7 Earths, of which we, as you all know, only have one. And we think that this is due to the fact that we've built an economy which is really focused on maximizing short-term profits, while we don't really have to pay for our actual behavior. And what we start to notice now is that future generations understand that, and they understand that they will have to pay for the damages that have been done so far. And therefore, we see a lot of change. And we think that this change it's great that it's happening, and I think this is uniting us all. We think that change must happen quicker, and we must get below one. So we only have one planet, so we only can consume the resources of one planet, and we have limited time to do so, to build an economy which is operating within the planetary boundaries of that planet. And we think that this change will be driven by regulatory change and by customer behavior and a couple of other things. But most and foremost, and I think this is where we also are super in line with the Greentech Alliance, we think that this transformation is basically the soil for innovation to build on. And we see it already today. We see brave founders who are taking action for the planet, which are trying to build companies which are in line with the UN SDGs. You probably know Tomorrow Bank from Hamburg, and there are other companies who've maybe not said that impact is their main goal, but they have a tremendous impact and have been unthinkable a couple of years ago. And again, if we take a step back, we see incredibly brave founders who are taking a huge risk to build their companies and see them as a tool to also have a significant impact on the economy. And they say they are not primarily focused only on profits, but they want to focus on planet, people, and profit. And we think that this is absolutely amazing, but we also, when listing examples of already successful companies, there is a list, but the list isn't endless. And we think that this is due to some serious lack of funding, especially in early stage ventures, as well as highly professional support. I usually like to say, if you're trying to ramp up the next what can I say without compromising anyone, the next SaaS startup, which is purely profit driven in Berlin, you probably won't have any issue with funding. While when you're trying to build something which is a bit more brave, you're really struggling at the moment. And this is what we think needs more attention, and these companies need our support, because after all, tomorrow's economy is based on today's investment decisions. And this is why we built Planet A. And we really want to empower the founders who are spearheading the change towards an economy within our planetary boundaries. And I think Europe, the more I think about that, the more I'm again inspired by the European idea, especially in times like we're currently witnessing with all the craziness happening at the other sides of the planet. I think the European Union is a beautiful idea, and also we are seeing a lot of that soil I was talking about earlier happening in the European Union right now. We see regulatory change, which is of course not enough, but it's going into a very strong direction. And it's probably also going to allow us as a community to create a space where true innovation can happen, and which is going to be, which is potentially a tech hub, which is then supplying the entire globe with innovative ideas on how we might be able to turn back the wheel of climate change. And this is why, like I said, why we built Planet A. And we think that what we want to provide to the companies that we work with is threefold. So we think that to get into an economy which is not primarily measuring success in profit, but also in the positive impact you have, we must be helping out the startups on measuring their own impact. I'm going to get into that in a second. Then we're talking about the Planet A network, which is kind of an enablement factor. And then there is, of course, the capital itself, which is in the below one fund. And I would really like to dig down for the last 4 minutes into the impact forecasting, because I think it's so crucial to really value this a bit more from a scientific perspective. As you all know, when we're talking stock market exchange or else, we have the super high quality of financial data at hand to make investment decisions. And this is accepted everywhere. But when it comes to impact data, we don't see this far. We have usually super limited or no data at hand at all. And we think that this is a must-have to build an economy which is not focused on profits anymore. And this is why we took the SDGs, and as Planet A, we are caretakers of the planet, and we identified the SDGs which are in line with our mission of taking care of the planet. And from there on, we derived at 3 boxes in particular. So the overall topic of climate change, the topic of waste reduction, and the topic of resources that can be saved. And what we're basically able to do is we are able to attach a unit to each of these boxes. All of them can be measured in kilograms. You can have subgroups of microplastics, of different kinds of plastics, of different kinds of greenhouse gases, etc. And this is what we apply to our startups, and we measure them very distinctively for each and every startup. And we do this by the methodology of a so-called LCA, which is a life cycle assessment. Again, we're going to dig down very briefly into that. Before we do, below you can find a formula which says impact, and for us impact is the product of two variables. One, the improvement rate, which is kind of the impact perspective, and this is multiplied by the number of users, which is also making very clear why we think that impact in the end will be driven by revenue. So to have a significant impact on the planet, it must be multiplied many times around the globe. So an LCA, and I brought an example, an LCA is basically the scientific understanding of what kind of inputs do I have into a system to create a certain product. We took the example of white plastic. They are basically trash bags created from collected plastic from beaches, for example, which is then shipped somewhere else, and the white bags are being produced, and we compare that with a virgin trash bag, and then we see that there is a significant improvement and a much higher need for secondary usage of raw materials such as plastic than to create new plastic. It would take too long to dig down into that in more depth, but I'm super happy to do it in a private call. This is basically our impact perspective. And then we think that the enablement factor is equally important. We think that founders are learning best from other founders because they've faced equal challenges. They have a similar understanding of what they are trying to solve, and especially you can't really understand what it feels like to be on the edge and keeping so many balls in the air at once if you haven't had the same experience. And this is why we're setting up the Planet A network, which is basically a network of experienced founders, which are then there to help our startups out. So the process is that a startup comes to us and says, I have this issue, and then we're forwarding them to the designated expert within our network. Again, I could spend much more time on this, but I'm already a bit overdue. So I would like to close with a couple of final words. The economy we create shapes the only planet we have, and startup by startup, we can make Planet A a better place together and now. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Nick. I think all Greentech founders are very grateful for Planet A and bringing this very refreshing and I think very much needed impact process to the investment world. For everyone watching, Nick will be available for Q&A after. Please post your questions in the question tab and we'll address them later. Nick, again, thank you very much.
Sure thing.
And with that, we're gonna go from Germany to Switzerland. We're gonna go to Alex from Übermorgen, another VC, and why they believe in investing in green tech. Alex, you're there? Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic.
You're all good to go.
I'm Alex from Zurich, from Übermorgen Ventures. First of all, congrats to 6 months of Greentech Alliance. Glad to be here. We're still very new VC, so it's an honor to be part of this great community. Thanks for the presentation, Nick. I'm going to echo a lot of the things that you just said, so please don't get bored when I pull up my slides. But it basically means that, well, we're all working on the same thing, which is fantastic. Can you see my slides now?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Maybe let's start at the beginning. So as I said, I'm one of the 4 partners at Übermorgen Ventures. We just had our signing, so we're actually operational now, which is fantastic. We are an early stage venture capital fund focusing on clean tech startups. And why did we create Übermorgen? And it's pretty much because of that curve. All of you know this curve, so I'm not going to preach to the already converted, but in essence, it says it's going to get hot in here and it's not going to be pretty. So we have to do something about it. And that something is we pretty much have to turn around our entire economy. And to do that, to reach the targets or to avoid the worst consequences of climate change, Nick already provided a couple of very illustrative examples. We pretty much have to turn around our economy 180 degrees. And that's not only a challenge in our opinion, it's also a business opportunity. And we would like to work together with change makers, like a lot of you guys who are in the call, who embrace that challenge, provide solutions, and also embrace opportunity behind it. So this is exactly like the kind of framework that we created Übermorgen Ventures around. So we have a dual focus. We focus on financial returns because we live in a capitalist society, and the best way to scale solutions is by moving away and thinking that that philanthropy is the answer to the problem. We have to create scalable business models and to actually have impact on the bigger scale. But we also measure and track the carbon dioxide equivalents that we reduce or mitigate through the investment activities of our portfolio firms. So we actually measured along those two dimensions, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for innovators and entrepreneurs who develop innovative technologies and thoughtful business models to shift our economy towards net zero. And what do I mean with net zero? We always like to think about, these 5 shifts. So one is reforming food and forestry. So moving away from meat to plant-based proteins, stop deforesting our forests, electrifying our lives, meaning the buildings we live in, we work in, the way we move from A to B, decarbonizing power and fuel. That means to scale up renewables, to embrace low or zero carbon fuels like hydrogen, biofuels, synfuels, to adapt industrial operations, especially getting more efficient in the way we do things, and lastly, ramping up carbon capture and carbon sequestration, both technically and biologically. And we took those 5 shifts and we said, well, where do we want to invest? And we pretty much focus on those 3 main areas that you can see on the right. Agri and food tech, I think that's a very big lever. Energy and transportation and sustainable materials. And in the latter one, we focus mostly on those that are most carbon intensive, meaning polymers, construction materials, and metals. As already said, we're Swiss-based, where we focus on Europe. We are most prominent in the German-speaking part, obviously, but we're looking for people to work with all across Europe. We are pre-seed and seed, so we like to, as Nick already said, I think especially in those stages, it is hard for most startups to get access to funding, and it is key to scale innovation. So that's our sweet spot. We are still very new, but we already made 4 investments. Here are a couple of examples. Sunvigo, which is a prosumer utility aiming to help residential building owners to adopt PV on their roofs by lowering the risk of investing, pretty much. 100 Energie, which is also a German-based startup, which is a software-based service for real estate owners, so they can put PV systems on their roofs and supply their tenants with green and local electricity. We just recently invested in Unown, which is a rental leasing platform for fashion in order to increase the utilization or productivity of the garments that are used in the clothes that we wear. And lastly, Delicious Data, startup based in Munich, which is a forecasting service for restaurants and canteens. So their goal is to optimize procurement in those restaurants and hence reduce food waste. So this is our activity of the last 6 months, I'd say, and we're looking for more wonderful people to work with. Yeah, hopefully we stay connected. But a couple of words about who we actually are. We're actually quite a colorful partnership. We are entrepreneurs. We have founded a couple of companies. We have invested early stage a couple of times. We also have some unconventional expertise in the team, like Elena, who is a startup lawyer here in Switzerland, who has seen about 1/3 of all transactions in the last couple of years. Me personally, I'm working in sustainability, especially climate tech, for a couple of years now. I also invested in a couple of companies already. And yeah, we like to think of ourselves as a founders fund. So that's also what we want to bring to the table when working with startups. that entrepreneurial expertise, the network in the industry and in the science community, but also that legal competence. And one thing that we're particularly proud of is that we're in for the long term. So we structured ourselves in a way that we don't have a life or a fixed lifetime. We're an evergreen fund, which pretty much means that we don't have to divest if our investors want to see returns. So we're not in for the fast profit, but rather for customizing the way we work with our portfolio firms in a way that makes sense for everybody involved. Yeah, that's already it. Again, let's stay in touch. Here's my email. I'm going to post it in a minute in the chat as well. Please reach out in case you're interested to learn more.
Thank you, Alex. Just a quick question. Übermorgen, for the ones who do not speak German, it means the day after tomorrow. Does that come from?
It's a German word for the day after tomorrow, but for everybody who doesn't speak German, it has a less apocalyptic vibe to it when you say it in German. So it's not about the world going down. It's more about, it's the day after tomorrow. Let's think about what we do.
On a positive note.
Exactly, yeah.
Thanks. And also for everyone watching, if you have any questions for Alex, please post them in the questions tab and we'll address them after. Alex, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And with that said, we're moving to the other country in the Alps. Reinhard from Glacier, are you there? He was almost there. And
all right, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I cannot see you yet.
Okay, that's interesting. Because I can't really activate my camera here. So we tested it beforehand, but obviously there are always some technical issues in there.
Yeah, otherwise it's not an online event. But the slides are visible. So you can use the arrows on the slides itself to go forward. The stage is yours, and I'm looking forward because we're going to get a deep dive into Austria, if I'm correct.
Yes, so thanks a lot, JJ. Thanks for the invitation. It's an extreme honor to present here. First of all, congrats, Andrew, on the baby. That's fantastic news. The family is growing, and well, my name is Reinhard. I'm one of the co-founders of Glacier, and we would like to save this, the planet. Super simple. What we mean with that is a bit more than a year ago, I was in exactly this tent in Kyrgyzstan in Central Asia. I'm not sure if you know the country, but I was on a mountaineering trip, an expedition to do first ascents over there. There's a lot of undiscovered land still from a mountaineering perspective. And the problem was that so this picture was taken at 4,000 meters and it was way too hot. So it had 20 degrees there, and you can see the snow in front of the tent, which is very wet. The original plan we had was to climb the wall on the picture for 5,000 meter peak, and it was literally impossible because ice blocks were falling down every other second, and it was quite a tremendous ride to get back to the base camp. So this is the advanced base camp, and this made me think a lot. Why? Because we were there at 4,000 meters. It was really, really warm, and the problem was that the global warming is affecting us all. And the people of Kyrgyzstan, their Earth Overshoot Day, if you're familiar with the term, is on the 26th of December. So they are almost living in balance with the planet's resources. And the problem here is that they are one of the most affected people by global warming. So 40% of the glaciers will be melted by 2025. And if you think about this number and the resource they're gaining from the water, it is a complete change of their way of living. So this is, well, quite crazy in a certain way. So we decided to do something here. And what we did after going, for example, to Madrid to the climate summit, we talked with a lot of people in the field, and it's really about, when it comes down to one factor, it's about carbon emissions and to reduce carbon dioxide. And I think this quote sums it up really well, that it's about us all. It's not about a couple of people who will save us. It's about the importance of acting from us all. And I think, the Greentech Alliance is a fantastic place to speak here, because you are kind of like the beating heart right now in Europe when it comes to green tech startups, and that's a fantastic job, by the way. We looked at the communities driving carbon reduction, and there are a couple of different communities out there. The only thing is they have different approaches to the problem. And we do have the Fridays for Future, for example, doing things really bottom up. But then you have also the communities driving it top down. The only thing is we didn't save the problem yet. So we would like to contribute another way here. As you and as we all do it with the Greentech Alliance, we would like to do it in between, not simply bottom up, but also not strictly top down. And therefore, we found that, and that's quite some news, because we will go live tomorrow. Actually, that's the first presentation where you are able to see that. We're going live with the Climate Impact Day tomorrow in the Austrian newspapers. And what we would like to do there is to really make a change when it comes to carbon emissions. We will start there, and it's action oriented. What is new is that we would like to take an employees driven approach. So it's about the people. It's about carbon reduction through people within companies. So it's a B2B event, but everybody is invited to join, because it's super important that the companies change their way of doing business nowadays. And it's not only about the day is just a trigger. So this is just like how people work and how the mind works, that we need certain days to do things, and deadlines and so on. But it's about doing carbon reduction beforehand, at the day, but also afterwards. For that, we also working on implementing a digital platform to help the companies to reduce carbon emissions. Nothing super sophisticated. It's not the way we do it, because the problem is already very complex, and we would like to keep it, as we called it, super simple. It's a bit like you still remember Jamie Oliver, the Naked Chef. Beforehand, cooking was also quite quite heavy and tiring. And he came and he was like, okay, let's have these ingredients and that ingredients, and the dish is ready. It was never really easy cooking, but he made it look easy. And that's the thing. We would like to come to the problem, to the table, and really save the planet by reducing carbon emissions in a simple way. It is happening in a hybrid version, and we are tackling, we are kind of like attracting the people who are already driving change. We call them the climate rangers, and they are igniting the change within the company. What is important, it is a hybrid event. Corona and so on, so it's not possible to gather too much in public and in offline events. But the good thing is that we provide a live stream, and we have different models. And this is what is important when it comes to the agenda. So you can kind of drag and drop the agenda you would like to have. And it's always individualized to your company. Well, this is what we're starting in Austria. I was also asked to give you a brief overview on the Austrian climate tech ecosystem. It's quite interesting, because Austria is kind of known in a certain way for the rich resources, for the landscape, the mountains, and climate tech and green tech was not always well, had not always like this fixed position in the startup ecosystem. But we do have an ambition to change that. There's already a lot of things happening, and we try to gather the landscape, the startups within the field. So we made apparently the first Austrian climate tech ecosystem overview, launching today for you all guys. It's happening a lot. You can see it, and this makes me really proud because we're just the country of 8 million people, and there are a lot of exciting things happening. I'm quite sure that we don't cover all of the solutions yet. So if you're listening and you don't find your logo on it, we need to change that. We already got some interest to expand the landscape and cover it in the media. So we will do that in the upcoming weeks. Thanks again for the initiative by JJ for pushing us to do the ecosystem overview. We can also provide that to the community afterwards. I think it's very, very important to really showcase what is already happening, and we are proud to support that in a certain way. And yes, so this is it from my side. I'm my team. We do have a fantastic team in the background. We are already 8 people. We're working on bringing the Climate Impact Day to all of you. So if you're interested, just join us. Our website will go live. I mean, there was an old version, and the new version will go live by tomorrow in the morning, since the news are out by then. And I think it's also super important to mention that we already got over 50 companies joining in the initiative already. Our goal is to have 500 participating companies to reduce carbon emission on the Climate Impact Day on the 18th of May 2021. That's also important. And to make saving the planet super simple.
Thank you so much, Reinhard. Super interesting, the Climate Day, and also thank you for sharing this map. I already have some suggestions who I could not spot immediately on the Austrian map, and I would love to also see some of the companies there, maybe to invite them as members of the Greentech Alliance.
Absolutely.
We showed a map of the world earlier in the presentations. Austria has some, but we can definitely use more.
Absolutely. So my team, so Alyssa also put it together for my team. We are happy to add more members. This is just the kind of the beta version, as you can call it. I'm happy to expand that.
Thank you. Thank you. With that, we're gonna move to the next session. It's going to be a panel, and today I'm joined by 5 early stage entrepreneurs who will share their journeys. And I would love to invite Joanna, Seth, Paulina, Julian, and Simona to the virtual stage. I see some of you coming already. And we're waiting for Joanna. Joanna, are you there? Joanna is having some tech issues. She will be joining in a second. Today, the panel is about what does it take to fight climate change as a job. The panel will last for 30 minutes. And while we're waiting for Joanna, I hope she will be in soon. I want to remind everyone that you can post questions on the question tab. If you have any questions for Nick, for Alex or for Reinhard during the presentations, or for us as the Greentech Alliance, please post them and we'll address them after. I think I'm going to start with the introductions. Paulina. Then Joanna is there. Great, great, we're complete. I would like to ask all of you to mute and to unmute when invited. So Joanna, to start with you, you've started your company Traceless only in the summer this year. Can you a little bit about who you are and what Traceless is?
Very happy to do so. First of all, thanks for having me. Thank you for letting me be here. So Traceless is a circular bioeconomy startup that is offering a sustainable alternative to conventional plastics and bioplastics. And I am the COO and co-founder of Traceless. We founded together with Traceless together with Dr. Anne Lamb, who is the technical brain behind Traceless and who already for a couple of months longer than last summer was developing the technology behind Traceless that allows us to manufacture this amazing material that is really plastic-like, but completely biocircular.
Amazing. And with that, we're going over to Hawaii. Seth, thank you so much for joining us from, well, literally the other side of the world.
Happy to be here.
You run a company in aquaponics, and I don't think that everyone is fully aware of what that is. Can you enlighten us?
Yeah, so aquaponics is similar to hydroponics, where you're not using soil to grow plants. Only with aquaponics, rather than using artificial nutrient solutions or organic nutrient solutions, you're incorporating aquaculture as well. So you're growing fish in one system, and you're using the waste byproduct and remineralizing that into nutrients for plants to grow in a hydroponic system. And that could be everything from floating rafts to vertical grow towers, and there's a whole assortment of grow beds you can use, but generally you use 90 to 95% less resources to grow the same plants in about half the amount of time.
Phenomenal. Paulina, we're going over to Moscow. We're truly international today. You are the founder and CEO of Helleric, a company you started already, and in this group it's already in 2018. With that, I think you're the oldest company in this group. Can you, in a few sentences, what Helleric does?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. It's very exciting. You have so many people visiting you. Nowadays, it's not really common because I think everyone tired of online events, but it's great. So about Helleric, we are building floating solar power plants with a circular economy approach. And we want to mitigate three global problems: global warming, plastic pollution, and land scarcity.
Thank you. Julian, you wear multiple hats. All of them could be applicable for the Greentech Alliance in one shape or the other. Can you please tell us a little bit about Carbon Cancel?
Yeah, sure. So Carbon Cancel is an online platform that helps individuals to calculate, reduce, and offset their entire carbon footprint. And we empower individuals to take control over their carbon emissions. So individuals do that by calculating their emissions through our calculator. We give them tips on how to reduce their emissions, and then they have the opportunity to offset whatever is left. And we offer our customers a personalized dashboard, which shows their emission data in an accessible and actionable manner. So we've heard planetary boundaries already a few times, and we empower individuals to make sure we live within those planetary boundaries.
Super. Last but not least, Simona, it's a great honor to have you here today. You only very recently officially joined This Is Circular. Would you like to share your journey in short and what This Is Circular is?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Simona. We're based in Amsterdam, and I indeed just recently joined This Is Circular as a head of sustainability and partnerships. We're Amsterdam's first circular delivery system for home and beauty products, and that is for households as well as for offices and businesses. And our main goal is to extract as much plastic out of the circulation as possible by providing a good alternative. And what we do is literally just bring the essential products that everyone has to buy on a regular basis for your home. So think shampoo, think toilet cleaners, think really the basics. And we deliver them in beautiful containers that we then also pick up as they're empty and replace with new ones. Yeah.
Thank you. Joanna, you're working on a problem around plastics. Can you tell us why did you decide to work on this problem?
I mean, I think in this community, everybody knows about the plastic problem and the plastic pollution problem that we have on a global scale. And my co-founder, Dr. Anne Lamp, has a background in Cradle to Cradle. She founded the Cradle to Cradle regional group in Hamburg. She's a process engineer, and she set out on a quest to find a material that is really truly sustainable and holistically ticking or having in mind all the impact indicators, because obviously there are other materials out there that can be used instead of plastics, but really a lot of these still hold some challenges when it comes to impact indicators, such as, for example, the source they are made of. A lot of bioplastics are, for example, based on sugar or starch, which are food sources, and we also have a world famine problem. Or they are not compostable in the environment. And if they end up in the environment, which unfortunately a lot of products still do, they still pollute the environment. So what we were able to do is to really develop a material that composts in the environment. It's a purely natural product that does not need any harmful additives or solvents. So it's safe for humans and nature. It's actually edible. It doesn't taste very great, but you could eat it. And yeah, it is based on the residues of the agricultural industry, so it does not need a food source. So we're really ticking like the impact indicator boxes, and that was what we were trying to do, and luckily we were able to.
Thank you, Julian. I already told the audience that you're wearing multiple hats. You just started Carbon Cancel. How do you do that? How do you wear all these hats?
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunities out there, and a lot of well, my job is to work for Climate Cake, actually one of the partners of the Greentech Alliance, and I manage the investor marketplace. But Carbon Cancel came actually with on a holiday discussion with the other co-founders, and we just figured, if we were thinking about the future and how we want to live in the future, how is that going to look like if you want to balance the world in a healthy and sustainable way, and that begins with yourself. So doing that in taking control of your own emissions, I think, is the very first step that we should all take as individuals. So I saw that opportunity together with the other founders, so that came alongside.
I fully agree. That's super important. So I want to open up the stage a bit, and I want to ask everyone a question, and please raise your hand if you want to answer. What do you think is really lacking? You all started your journeys not too long ago, but where do we need to improve so much?
You mean as
Simona.
Oh, good. Okay, I'll jump in, but Joanne is obviously welcome to also chip in. I guess one of the challenges that we're coming across at This Is Circular right now is to make sure that whatever solutions we're coming up with do not create any additional problems down the line, which is a little bit of the prevention mindset that we want to stay in and continuously be alert about. Okay, yes, we're trying to provide an alternative for all the plastic bottles that are being used right now. I'd say in the Netherlands per year, it's about 1.4 billion per year. which is a massive amount. What we're actually doing right now is delivering the essentials in our aluminium plastics, then we pick them up and then we wash them and refill them. And so quite obvious question here is, okay, how much wastewater are we actually going to create by washing these bottles? And then you're tracking different things to be able to make a decision whether you're actually climate neutral / climate positive, ideally. And so how do I actually even make a decision whether this solution right now is going to be something that works 5 years down the line? It's not creating a massive wastewater issue, for example. So yeah, tracking the impact and being preventive about your solutions right now is definitely one of the things that I find myself just talking to a lot of people about and trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah, Joanna, do you see the same? Is tracking also for you an issue, or what?
It is definitely, as we are developing a material that is like along a huge value chain, it is not just about us and what we do in our production, but Simone, you're absolutely right. What happens before, what happens afterwards with the products, all that has to be taken into account. And yeah, that makes the issue of calculating it quite complex, but yeah, we're working on it, I would say. And I think the good thing is I think a lot of other companies out there are just going the easy route, right? And maybe tracking whatever is easy to be tracked and then saying, yes, we are doing great, without taking all the other impact indicators in mind. And I think that is a huge plus.
Seb, do you have anything to add to that? You do have a totally different product.
Yeah.
But what would you say? Is there anything lacking? Maybe the knowledge even just about aquaponics.
Yeah. So with aquaponics, it's kind of still, even though the past 10, 20 years, it's really kind of become more of a mainstream agricultural propagation method for food systems, and it's done amazing things across, at least the United States and parts of Australia and also in Europe, to really further the sustainable food movement, using less resources and all of those things. But at the same time, there's not a whole lot of education and curriculum out there to really bring people up to speed on how these systems work. There's also the barrier of entry, which is just the capital investment for a system, even just to grow at home, is a little bit more expensive than your typical soil garden. So that's another thing, bringing those costs down, maybe by using more sustainable products that aren't necessarily like toxic to the environment or anything like that, which most systems we do our best to source materials that are food safe and are last for a long time and aren't putting out a lot of carbon emissions to travel from the source to where the system is going to be built. So that's an issue that is constantly being juggled around, and trying to think globally and act locally, and sourcing everything as local as possible for each system that I build for people. And I've been doing this since 2014. And like you mentioned, my product, which is something that's new, I'm about to announce, is shifting and pivoting from doing agricultural systems for food and bringing that into the forestry sector and growing native plants and trees, which I've been doing trial runs for the past couple of years, and been reaching out and partnered with a bunch of organizations and government agencies and Washington State and the region over there in the Pacific Northwest, which is where the company is actually based. I'm just visiting Hawaii, seeing family, but yeah, everything's based in Seattle. So really excited to get that project off the ground, bring in IoT solutions for monitoring all the trees that we end up planting for our partner organizations and conservation districts, as well as utilizing ponics technology, vertical farming, to grow all these trees and native plants that are in desperate need for this wildfire recovery that we're dealing with constantly. Every year we have record-setting wildfires, and that's kind of like where I'm at right now, and navigating being the first person or / company in the sustainable ag sector to really branch off into forestry while everyone's still focused on food production. So doing trials, collecting data on how fast these plants grow, how much healthier are they than soil grown, and talking to other forest nurseries and container nurseries to get that data and really refine the practice. So that's another challenge for me.
Corina, I think that's also applicable to you being a front runner. you're based out of Moscow, and you're building a floating solar power plant with a circular economy approach. How has it been going, and what kind of challenges did you have to overcome?
So actually it's going quite well. So even during pandemic time, we could build our first pilot project in Russia. So I mean, my company based in France and in Russia. So it's like in both countries. So now we are looking for new opportunities to build even bigger projects. So now it was quite small for 8 kilowatts. So it's about challenges for my particular startups. It's quite a lot because it's hardware, green tech startup. VCs nowadays they like to invest more in digital startups. The second issue from my side is I'm solo founder, female, and I don't speak French. I now opened my company in France, so it was a little bit like, but it's in the same time a lot of challenging. Can move me up and up. So I develop a lot of internal skills and met a lot of people, etc. So this is the second challenge, and the third challenge in general, and with policies about people mentality, about if we need green electricity or we don't need. Some people still don't believe in global warming. So if you talk about Russian policies for green tech, it's not really good, but we are still fighting with this, and like every individual can do something. So I choose this way, and I will do my best, and let's see where we will come.
It's for sure that you love a challenge, and admire your willingness to fight and to just do. I think that's a lesson for all of us. Julian, is there, aside for Carbon Cancel, already Climate Kick has been mentioned, and you see quite a lot of development, I think, in the green tech field. Is there any particular field that really excites you at the moment?
Well, that's a hard question to answer. I think on all fronts, the green tech community has a lot of exciting developments. One of them is, of course, mobility. I think that's going to change radically in the future. Looking at innovations like Hyperloop or like the Lilium jets, those are quite fascinating ones. But I think on all fronts, in every theme, there's a lot of exciting innovations. Also in the Greentech Alliance, just reading the Slack channels every day, looking at all the new intros. Every day there's a new exciting ideas coming in.
Simona, I saw you smiling. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I just had to think about industrial dishwashing, because that's something I'm currently looking into a lot, because we're obviously trying to wash and rinse bottles that have a shampoo or hand wash before inside of them. So with the foaming agents inside, it just explodes into a big foam party. And so haven't come across an innovation in the industrial dishwashing part yet that would excite me as much as I would expect it to. So if you guys know about anything, please do let me know. But that's definitely one of the areas that I think will be becoming bigger and bigger in the future.
I know not so much about the industrial dishwashing industry. I know a little bit about the dishwashing industry. I know about a company in France that's really cool. It's called Dan Technologies, and they have released a product called Bob. And it's almost a circular product for your dishwasher. And definitely worth to check out, but I don't think it's going to solve your problem. We're here all part of the Greentech Alliance, and I want to pose the question is, what does this really add for you, and how can we, but also just the alliances and the networks and the collaboration, how can we improve that? Joanna?
I think we've heard already how active the Greentech Alliance Slack channel is, and especially, for example, the job channel within the Greentech Alliance Slack. And I think networking, as what Simona just did, right? I think this is exactly what the Greentech Alliance is amazing for. Whenever you have a question, you can just put it out there in the channel, and in the future in your own website, and you will. So far, I have made the experience, I always got a really, really valuable answer, and that is super helpful. I think networking and having the right connections is the most important as a founder, because you can't do it all on your own. You need the right connections, and I think the Greentech Alliance is a great way to find those.
Thank you for these kind words. Seth, I saw you raising your hand as well.
Yeah, kind of seconding what Joanna and Simona were talking about is about the networking aspect of it. Not just are we able to be on the Slack channel, see everyone that's joining and what their companies and their visions are about and how it aligns with the core values of the Greentech Alliance, but also, for me on my end of things, being able to see companies that are also working in forestry or working in adjacent sectors, like with refrigeration and finding green zero carbon emission solutions for refrigeration. Like for me, I need that for seed stratification and preserving forestry seeds in cold climates. So that's a valuable connection, and that's just one example of the multitude that other companies would be able to make those connections and establish some valuable relationships with. And without the GTA, it would be a lot more difficult to find people doing the same things. So,
Julian?
Yeah, I think with the Greentech Alliance, the strongest asset that it offers is really building momentum. We're all, I think all the participants, whether you're a startup advisor or what, I think everyone participating is, pushing the boundary of social innovation, technological innovation, and just having one communal platform that pushes that boundary forward and supports each other and offers each other's help wherever is necessary. I think that's definitely what we're already benefiting from, even though we've only been member ourselves for a couple of weeks. I already see a lot of potential there.
Amazing. Another question, or another more about the whole Greentech field. You have entered it. What is something that really is there anything? Sorry, my connection drops off. Oh no, am I there? Okay. So about the Greentech field in general, how can we collaborate better together? And not from a Greentech Alliance perspective, but all the companies, all the institutions, all the universities. How can we improve?
So I think the most important thing is to show real impact. So because I noticed when we have some conferences or webinars, so people, they like to talk, but it's after this talking, nothing happens. So if all these conferences happen after that, we can see real impact. It is clear KPIs. It will be great for people. They can see this not just a wasting time to sit in front of the camera. Yeah, so we can actually act. So this is the most important. If somehow it can be organized and show a real impact from real people with best practices, which other people also can implement in their countries, their homes, with their families. So this is, I guess, the most important.
Thank you for bringing in the impact part. How do you measure impact, Paulina?
So it's how many reduction of CO2 you could achieve with your project, how many recycled plastic you could use, what benefits you could bring with your project to communities. So it can be some educational stuff. It can be to bring light to the houses in some rural areas, reducing amount of diesel, let's say, if it's also some remote locations. So you can measure actually.
Joanna, I see you nodding. Do you have anything to add or to say, hey, I do it totally different?
No, I think, CO2 is kind of like the go-to measurement, I think, for a lot of impact startups. But we also, further than that, for example, measuring the food that we're saving for not using food sources for the development of our materials. Obviously, the plastic that we avoid from ending up in the environment, the fossil fuels you also mentioned, Paulina, that we are not using. So I think it is sometimes startup and product and service specific, but I think, CO2 is kind of often a common denominator when it comes to measuring impacts of impact startups.
Anyone else has a different way of measuring impact? As he said, yes?
Yeah, so from my side of things is measuring, when we're talking about growing forestry trees, not only are we talking about emissions and, kind of trying to cut back and use as many electrical means as possible rather than gasoline operated machines like in conventional forestry, but also the amount of carbon that's going to be sequestered from the trees that are being planted into the ground and the growth rates and what they're capable of over their growth period. For Doug firs, for over 100 years, they can capture 4 tons of carbon per tree. But, for the first couple of years, it's not going to be that high of a level. So trying to, figure out that data and allocate that and see if it's offsetting anything, with relation to CO2 output and those other metrics. It's just kind of, part of the game, and it's always a challenge.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I need to be a bit mindful of time. I have a question for all of you to finish off, and that is really. Well, today we're joined by a wide audience, but I would like to ask you if you have one piece of advice for people to consider a company in green tech. What would you say to this person? Joanna.
We are super early on ourselves still, so I don't know how much of long-term valuable advice we can give, but I think just do it. I am always amazed by how many people are out there wanting to help us. Our team, for example, is currently completely volunteering and helping us out. We already have a team of 9 people that are all putting in a lot of their free time and effort to helping us to make Traceless a thing. And it's amazing to see how much people are willing to help you when you really have a purpose and you have a great mission. And that is super encouraging, and I would love for more people to make that experience and do great things with the help of others.
Thank you. It's phenomenal to hear that you have such a intrinsic motivation in the team. Julian.
Well, I think if you're thinking about starting a company, I think the most important part is first, taking a moment, think about what the world's going to look like in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And does that product or company that you're thinking of really contribute to that new world that we're trying to create within the green tech community? And if that's the case, then just do it. And you'll see that the moment is now. As you can see, the Greentech Alliance is growing. And we have only a couple of years to really make this happen. So go for it.
Great. Simona.
Yeah, I'd like to connect to what Julian just said with really looking at or trying to think about how the world will look at 10 years from now, but then not forget all the other perspectives. We are here, we have, apart from Seth, I think everyone else could kind of counts in as Europe in this in this call. And so there's many other regions in this world where, for example, technology isn't as far as we are here right now. And I also feel like technology is not always the answer. I feel like, especially in the Netherlands, we're quite pushed by the subsidies and the government to come up with a new technology, And I feel like sometimes we already have all the technologies. We have AI, we have blockchain, we have IoT, we have 5G, we have it all. We just now actually really need to do it. Just like Paulina said, stop talking about it and start actually doing it. Many times also just looking at other cultures and maybe even having to go a little bit what feels like backwards to an old milkman model, but that might actually be the solution, So it's don't get overwhelmed by this whole future-proof sci-fi scenarios. Sometimes the answers are a little bit more going back down the roots and seeing how it was done in the past. Yeah, just bring in the diversity.
Often the best solutions are simple solutions.
Exactly.
Yes, Seth.
Yeah, so to what Simona was saying, you know, over in Europe, you guys are far more advanced with relation here to SDGs and the Paris Climate Accord, which hopefully we will rejoin that soon here in the US. You know, our political scene has been tumultuous to say the least, but you know, being able to look from the outside and see everything that's going on in Europe and all the work that you folks are doing with your companies, and you know, all of the progressive policies that are being set up in place is really setting a precedent and an example for everyone else here in the US and in other countries to really, you know, follow that path and you know, establish like policies, join more, you know, agreements and everything like that to really protect our planet and make it a big initiative on a global scale. And I'm just, you know, excited to be you know, a part of that, and at least being able to pay attention to it and use that to guide, you know, where I'm going and all the other companies and schools that I advise on like policies and things. So, yeah.
Yes.
It takes community.
Yes, absolutely. Paulina, I kind of have a feeling that I already know your answer a bit, but please enlighten us.
So actually, my advice will be not so romantic like it was from Joanna and Simone. My first advice: don't start it alone. So have a co-founder, ideally CEO and CTO. When you're solo founder, it's extremely hard. Not all as strong as me, who can do it alone. I'm like a Russian bear, so not everyone can do it. So the second advice: first, check your idea. So if market is ready for your idea, do it, because most of the startups fail it because market doesn't need your idea if even it's green idea. And the third advice: don't open company before you really need it, because after you open company, you have a lot of bureaucratic issues like accounting, the registration, and it's a nightmare. It is the full-time job for one more person, so CEO, CTO, and someone else, and you have very limited resources to do this. So basically, this is three advices from my side. But anyway, if you want to do it, good luck.
Thank you so much. And it sounds like well, you are the Russian bear, as you mentioned, and you can take all three. I fully agree that it's very important to have more people also to reflect to. We're coming to the end of the panel. I want to thank all of you. As said, thank you from all the way from Hawaii. Julian and Simona from the Netherlands, Paulina from Moscow, and Joanna from Denmark. We're closing off the panel. We're going into the Q&A. Please stay online because you might get a question for you. But thank you again, and let's move to Hannah.
Hi, JJ. Thanks for joining the panel. I'm excited to now do the Q&A for you. And just to quickly introduce myself, I'm one of the co-founders of the Greentech Alliance. And what I'll be doing now with you is about 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A. We've had a lot of really great questions coming in here through the chat. You're welcome to add more questions to it. I apologize in advance if your question won't be covered because we can only do so many. But the way that I will handle the Q&A is that I will ask the speakers and also the panelists, as well as the other co-founders, to spontaneously join the stage if they feel called to answer the question. But I will also ask you to join if no one's volunteering, or if I feel like a question is well suited for one of those people. And I will just pick questions from the chat, you know, without any hierarchy. I will try and pick the ones that have been voted up by other people who are listening, just to make sure that we cover the most pressing ones. and then I hope we have a fun conversation. So let's dive right into it. Let's start with a question from Carla Madueno. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce your name the right way, or any other. So first question is, how do you overcome the need for capital? Who to approach, how to approach? Would be happy if you share more of a personal experience on how to best upscale projects and solutions. So maybe someone from the panel that we just had would be happy to join me, or Lumila, who's sitting next to me. I'll mute myself.
Hello, everyone. So fantastic question, and I actually would love to invite Alex and Nick, who are representing the capital side of the story, to also express an opinion. When it comes to like overcoming the need for capital, well, one of the simplest and probably most obvious options is be resourceful. There's so many free options. Being an entrepreneur now is actually a lot easier than it was decades ago or even 5 years ago. And there's a lot of ways to test things. I think, Hannah, you can share a bit about your approaches with Silphir, which have been super successful. The second aspect is start like doing activities that bring revenues, because I think one of the aspects that entrepreneurs quite often have is that we're all perfectionists, and we're all seeking essentially to see our product with all the features. There's always a minimum viable way of doing this, and it's really important to be, I would say, quite creative in terms of how you use money. And then if you're building a green company, you can join the Greentech Alliance and actually access more than 40 investors who would be actually looking into your deck and would give feedback. Not necessarily they'll always give you money. And also we have other funders, such as the experts on the European Union funding, also grants, as well as universities that support early stage projects.
Thank you, Lubomila. I thought that was a great answer. We can go over to the next question, which is coming from Mark Navarro. And I think this question is going to Paulina. Paulina, if you want to join me again on the stage. Mark's question is, can you explain the benefits of floating solar power plants, not only for efficacy, but also for the marine biodiversity?
Benefit from floating PV, actually. So the first one, if we replace land-based PV on floating one, we can reduce LCOE by 20-30%, depends on the location. The second benefit can be if we talk about the close waters, so we can reduce water evaporation from lakes. It's a very big challenge in hot countries. And the third one, so placing it in the water, we can save the land space, and we can grow food or make buildings. So this is main benefits. Maybe the question is, okay, in Russia, for example, we have a lot of land space. We don't need to save it, but actually not. We have land space, but it's in the middle of Siberia, so no one lives there. And it's sometimes very difficult to find a location with a good infrastructure, where we can connect our electricity. So sometimes the land there is very limited. So we can use water for green electricity generation.
Great, thank you so much, Paulina. I'll leave it there and jump on to the next question, which is coming from Manuel Gleitner. He's asking, a lot of startups go the integrated way. They, you buy their product and then you add a certain amount of money to compensate for the goods you just bought. You plant a tree or do something else to regenerate the planet. And he's asking, don't we need way more education rather than more trees? Of course, both I know, just a matter of priorities. Who feels called to discuss Manuel's question? if no one is volunteering, I'm going to call Simon onto the stage. Simon, do you want to join as well? Great.
That's a good question. I think there's never the question of either or. It's the base is the fundamentals is education, obviously, but education is something which won't show any solutions like in a heartbeat. Neither are trees. So trees and education is something which is the fundamental investment in our future. So what we can do now is look at technologies who, for example, can solve certain issues and bring a solution, and see what's our plan or strategy to go beyond and have an impact and change our behavior. Besides that, I would always go like, look what solutions you have, tackle them, and yeah, what were the others saying about it?
Yeah, so it's a super important topic and a very good question. And that's one of the things that I noticed right when I moved back to Washington after doing all my internships around commercial farms in Hawaii, was that nobody knew what aquaponics was. Some people knew about hydroponics. So I set it upon myself to start teaching and doing seminars, lectures, and at universities and colleges locally, as well as K through 12, like primary schools. And then that led into teaching urban agriculture at a local college just south of Seattle, which I've been doing for about 3 years. And then once the pandemic hit and everything shut down, I was able to write a book and get that out. It's just introducing people to aquaponics so that that's out there. And also, introduces, just the concepts of different hydroponic grow beds and those things. So, taking the time to educate everyone as much as we can, while we're also, pivoting in some cases to really tackle larger problems than just the, what most of everyone else is doing, is, really important. So, yeah.
Maybe my perspective to it, couldn't agree more, education is key. Business models, in my opinion, that sell a service or product and attach another service or product to negate the negative externalities of the primary service or product is something that we wouldn't invest in, because I think, and on a system level, it doesn't really change the system, right? It's good in the transition phase where we don't have a better solution. It's maybe also a good way to raise awareness. But selling consumer products and planting a tree just to have a positive impact related to it, in the long run, this is not going to change, or it's not going to move the needle much, right? So if we could attach, or if you sell products and educate people around what the impact of that product is, especially, for example, in food, what the impact of that meat is that you're currently eating, or whatever else, right? I guess that would have a much bigger impact than planting additional trees.
Great. I suggest we move on to the next question, unless you want to contribute more to this topic. Because there's so many great questions, and I'm just mindful of time. I don't think we'll be able to cover all of them. So there was one really good one, which was, and Lubomila already answered to it here in the chat, but I would like to discuss it with the group. How about running impact valuation of business activities on the triple bottom line, so environmental, economical, and social, to create a metric of success? I find that such an interesting topic, especially to give green tech companies a boost in their valuations. And maybe one of the speakers who's from our investor side, so maybe Nick from Planet A could join me again to answer this question.
Can you hear me okay? I had a bit of issues.
Yeah. No, you're fine.
I think that is really the crux. Are we at some point going to be able to offset, in the literal word of offsetting, to offset impact versus return on investment in a purely financial aspect? And I feel like there is a strong argumentation going that this might be the case in some distant future, but the realist within me tells me that it would be a bit naive to build on that purely, that because I think what we have to achieve until that it's the case is a really a radical transformation of our entire economy, because this would mean that we really take a step forward from one central metric of success and also how we measure quality towards a dualistic system where impact or even like impact in a social and also in an environmental sense are equally seen and respected. And I think there are some good arguments to be made that we are on a good track, but I think we need something for the transition phase. And why I enjoy like tonight's the most is that I think each and every single one of us is setting out to have impact on our own. But I think the spirit of collaboration is absolutely insane, because everybody is realizing that this is not the time for egos anymore. It is really the time to leave all that behind and to make sure that the impact that we for ourselves are going to have is bigger than the amount of work that we are able to put into this. Because it's like we need network effects right now. We need this to work as lighthouse projects, and we also need to leave our green bubble to be very clear about that, where we are basically, I think, all talking more or less the same language, and to put it into COVID words, have travel spread into other communities, because I think we are all convinced. But the question is, how can we convince other people that this is really the future? And I think to do that, we need lighthouse projects. We need it, like, I think, as I said, Beyond Meat is a fantastic example, and there will be others.
I think that's a great answer. I also wanted to add just a thought that, with the increasing intensity of the climate crisis, there will be a higher cost associated to environmental impacts. And I think that will also, in a sort of, not in a nice way, but it will benefit green tech companies, because, not being green tech has to get a price tag in the next decade for sure.
Absolutely. The German ministry published a number in June or July, I think, and they said that every ton of CO2 emitted, the actual costs are 624 euros. When you think about for what price you're currently able to offset, this is not comparable. And these are not made up numbers. These are the actual numbers when you start to take into account what are going to be the flooding costs and hunger droughts and system collapses, etc. So I think you're absolutely right. This is, and we will start to acknowledge that even more. And when it's going to become a purely commercial decision, I don't like it, because I would like to see it as a decision which is coming from an attitude, but I'm going to take it either way.
Great. Thanks so much, Nick. So we're going to do a couple more questions to close the Q&A. And I'm going to try and focus on the questions that are more generic to the Greentech Alliance and less into the topics we've just been discussing. So one great question here from Ivan Palmegiani. I hope I pronounced that well. So Ivan's asking, are you open to involve freelancers who share your values and that are willing to support GTA members, particularly the low budget ones, with services at reduced wage or other kind of economic facilitation for the members? Maybe Emma, do you want to come back on the stage and answer this question? There she is. Hey, Emma.
Interesting. Yeah, that's definitely something that is a need for members, of course, is basically having access to freelancers. I know, for example, in Ecoligo, in my own company, that we have struggled to find people, and I think that it's an area where we could definitely connect the members to freelancers who share the same values and are willing to support. We don't have like a clear setup for it at the moment, but the best thing to do would be to send us an email with your portfolio, and then we can talk about it with the founders and try and set something up like that. Because I mean, our main aim is to really make things as easy as possible for the green tech startups, and this is definitely an important factor in that. So we'd really want to try and work on that. Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much, Emma. So last question for today is coming from Marilo Fernandez. And they're asking, hi, do we need to be a founded company to apply, or can we also apply if we are still in the process of creating a startup? And I think this is a really great question because we've been discussing this at our co-founder offsite. And I would like to ask JJ to join me again and answer this question, please.
Yes, indeed, a very good question. And we're having, hi, Paulina.
Hi.
We've been discussing this extensively, and now we have a few categories, and one category is the members, and these are founders of companies. Then we have advisors, and then we have partners. But what to do with all the people who have not yet founded the company yet is something that we're exploring, and we're thinking, we haven't decided yet upon what kind of name it's going to be, but something is going to be coming soon, where we're also going to be able to address and invite you to become part of the Greentech Alliance. If you have not yet founded your company, or if you're thinking of moving to the green tech field, stay tuned for more. We do not have anything yet officially, but definitely in the next, well, Hannah, how much? In the next few weeks or so?
4 or 5 weeks.
We will have something to share, so stay tuned.
Yeah. Great. And on that note and exciting next steps, I would like to close the Q&A. I think if you want to stay in the know and you're not a member yet and you're not on our Slack, then you now have the chance to apply to become a Greentech Alliance member. You can scan this QR code with your phone now, or you can have a look in the chat where Ludmila is going to post our website link again for you to apply to the Greentech Alliance. Any green tech startup globally is eligible to apply. You can also find our membership criteria on the website. And if you want to stay in touch or ask further questions from any of our members, then you can also email us at hello@greentech.earth. And with that, I would like to close. Can you mute yourself? There's a loop. Yeah, and with that, I would like to close tonight's presentation and the meeting that we've been having with, I think, close to 100 or even over 100 people. And this is great. I don't know. I encourage everyone. Can you go on mute? I encourage everyone to read the chat. So apparently someone scanned the code and started a vacuum cleaning robot with it. I think this is a great, great Greentech moment. Yeah, I think also a fun occasion and a good, sort of funny moment to leave this evening and leave in good spirit for the next months to come and the next years. I think we're onto something really great, and I want to thank everyone for having joined us and supported us over the last 6 months. We've been on an incredible journey, and sometimes we can still not quite believe what's been going on. So thank you so much, and yeah, join us again soon.
Ciao, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.